Hey guys, how's it going? Alex, how are you?
Good, good. Can't complain. How was your vacation? I held down the
Oh,
fort while you were gone.
yes, well done. It was really good. I had a great time. I feel like being like, I spent half the time hiking and half the time trying to be an influencer. So on Instagram with all of our pictures. But yeah, very nice, very sunny Santorini. But yeah, good to be back on the air. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm great. I also just got back from vacation. I'm jealous that you were in Santorini. That's awesome.
Where did you go?
I was in Sicily for a wedding, so we
Oh
decided to
yeah.
stay a couple days extra and drive around, but we didn't realize how crazy Sicilian driving is. And I'm from New York, so I know crazy driving, and some people have a death wish over there.
Yeah, we didn't get a cab and we didn't get a car. Most of the time we just got cabs. And then one day we decided to get the bus and realized it was infinitely cheaper just to get the bus around because someone had sent me an Instagram being like, when you realize the bus is like €1 and a cab is like €30. And we were like, oh no, we've not done well this holiday. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. So, welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Stephanie Gooch, and I am a commercial architect at AWS.
And my name is Alex Head, and I lead the optics team for AWS and strategic industries.
Cool. And today we're talking all about ABC, and well, that's AWS Billing Conductor, which we will be referring to as ABC because I refer to it nothing but ABC, which confuses people constantly. And we have Matt with us today. So Matt is is an expert on this, and we're going to be doing some demo. We're going to be doing some discussions about it. So please, as always, feel free to put any questions, comments in the chat. And if you have any questions kind of after, we have our email address. So drop us there. We can always put you in contact with Matt or answer any questions you have. So, Matt, do you want to give us your 1 minute origin story, a bit of background about you and your job at AWS?
Sure. So I'm a senior technical account manager. So part of my day-to-day is working with our customers that have enterprise support, with them on operational best practices, cost optimization. And so I've been with AWS for 3 years, and part of my things I do on the side is I lead our technical field community at AWS for cloud financial management in particular. So we have a group of SMEs that are trained in CFM that help customers that to use our services and understand better, just like ABC, like how do I use it, what is the best practice. So I've been doing that for about a year now, and it's been really exciting and fun to both work with the customers and also work with our product teams.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the technical field community. We all got to go on a nice trip to Virginia to meet in person the other month, which was great. Okay, let's get into ABC. So, Matt, do you want to just describe in kind of layman's terms what ABC is?
Sure. So ABC is a new way to customize your billing management. And the best way I like to describe it is when we started with just AWS billing in general, you had your standalone accounts, and each account had its own bill. And then eventually we said, okay, this would be better if we could consolidate this into now a consolidated billing family. And now we have everything rolling up to one bill, which is awesome. But on top of that, we've been starting to create services like AWS organizations that allows you to start applying policies to all the linked accounts, start creating central management, using things like Control Tower and service control policies. So that payer account became really important. But at a certain point, we also wanted to manage the bill separately from that payer account. So the only option up until now was maybe I needed to create a whole separate set of payer accounts for each separate bill that I wanted, but that also comes with its own overhead. I then need to have my own landing zone. Maybe I need to replicate the same policies that I had in my original one. So how can I just create custom versions of my bill without separating out, from the payer? And so that's what ABC is trying to solve is let's create a pro forma version of this bill that we can customize with different rates or different discounts, different fees that we can push down to either our different customers, whether that's a billing unit, whether that's an external customer, and they have their own source of truth, their own pro forma special version of the AWS bill. And it doesn't change the invoicing, it just changes what they can see and what the source of truth is.
So I know, jumping in here, I know from our strategic industry customers that Steph and I work with on a day-to-day basis, a lot of times this applies to these huge customers that are really like a bunch of different companies within, right? That, own, I came from IBM, and, IBM had all these different business units. So we're really their own companies. With the customers that you work with on a day-to-day basis, like, is that the common scenario, or are there other common scenarios for this that you see?
Yeah, so I think that is one of the biggest common scenarios is I have this large, I'm a large corporate entity, and I want to be able to segment it down. But it could also go down to just I maybe want to have a separate view for all my dev accounts versus all my prod accounts and be able to see the bills accordingly. So however people want to slice it, now you have that capability, and it doesn't take away from what my normal invoice is from AWS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's that grouping of accounts, isn't it, that are relevant, which is the key aspect, I think, of it. So that's kind of what problem does it solve. So should we jump straight into kind of how to get it set up, or did you want to share your description of how it all works together now, Matt?
Yeah,
What do
so
you
we
think?
can share the slides just to kind of give a visual look at how this brings up. I see that it's a little bit blurry, but the idea here is that originally you have that consolidated bill, and then you have all these accounts underneath it, and those accounts could be different customers. So in this example, the first two accounts are customer one, or potentially business unit one. There's a standalone account that's customer two, and the last three are customer three. And then now with Billing Conductor, if we flip to the next slide, the idea here is that now, well, we still have that consolidated bill at the top for the payer, but now we have three different billing groups, each with a primary account that has access to see the overall pro forma bill. So this is kind of a good visual representation of how ABC can now split out your accounts into billing groups.
Right. I think we'll go into detail a little bit about like some of the key benefits at the end. We're going to do a demo. But yeah, definitely if you have an account set up where you need to have these separated sections of billing, and so you need to have these individual curves, this is the thing that you need to look into. We've also got a question.
Oh, well, I have a question. And I on purpose, and I told them this before, I didn't do my research here because I wanted to be able to ask some of the questions, but I think Steph might have just hinted to it. So this is a cost and usage report view. It's not just is it like the PDF? Like, could you ingest it, say, into QuickSight, or is it just a visual?
Yeah, so there's two main ways today to look at this pro forma version, and I'll show one of them, which is the bills page. So the bills page that we all use today, now that there's a separate drop down for pro forma. On the other side, now you can also create the cost and usage reports that then you can use to then say, I want to create a QuickSight dashboard for just this billing group, and there's no additional overhead needed in terms of separating anything out. You already have that source of truth.
Gotcha. All right. Sorry, Steph, interrupted your question there. Go.
No, it's good. I was just saying, we got a question from Rob, who lives near Virginia and came and saw us when we did this. So it's a long one. So this must have been a big request from resellers who want to control how they bill differently to different sets of member accounts. Is that right? And
this is a great question.
Yeah. You could read it.
Yeah, and I totally agree. This is one of the intended models. So the idea here is that if I'm a reseller, I have all these accounts underneath my payer, and maybe they all have different rates that are associated with them, and I want to be able to control that centrally. But I also want to give that transparency to my customers so that they can see what their actual charges are. So that's one of the main intended models. So thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I remember that being one of the big things when I was learning about it. And one of Matt's trainings, I think that there's twofold to it. There's like the reseller part, and then there's just like wanting to divvy up the curve so that everyone can kind of have their own version. Obviously, we have member curves, but there's either like the management curve or there's like the member curves. There's no kind of between. And now this solves that problem. Yeah. All right, do you want to jump into your demo?
Yeah, let me get my screen ready to share. So I'm going to do the cooking show version of this. I'm going to do the pre-baked and then the baked version. Let me share my screen and we can walk through it.
And this is good for anyone who go have a go. We will be talking about pricing at the end though, so please be aware of that before you just dive in and copy Matt's setting up before we start. All right, go for it, Matt.
So from the console, you can see in my recently visited, I've got Billing Conductor here, but if you're curious, you can type in Billing Conductor at the top. It will come up. There's also a link to Billing Conductor within the billing portal in general. So first of all, I want to show everyone what the view is when you first come to Billing Conductor. And you can see here, we've got some links to how it works, what the pricing is, and then that first step, which is to create that billing group. So to create that custom grouping of your accounts. So I'm going to start there, and I can create a billing group name. So for my example, let's say I want to create a specific billing group for my IT services department. So I can call this IT, and I can make a description that says IT services spend. And then I have a choice here. Do I want to give them the public on-demand pricing? So, any discounts that I might have from the payer, they won't see, or I can create a new pricing plan or select an existing one. So first, I'm just going to use this public one, and we'll come back to the pricing. And then I pick what accounts. I've got a couple of accounts that are within my organization that aren't associated with any billing groups. They're just my names. And then I pick what primary account I want to select. So the primary account that we pick here is the one that's going to be kind of like the faux payer that has access to see the bill for all the linked accounts that are associated in that billing group. For me, I'm going to pick this one. The reason why I only have one in this dropdown is that one of these accounts I'm selecting is my payer account. You cannot take the payer account, your primary, to make it your primary account. I'll stop there. Does that make sense?
Do you need to be in the payer account to set this up? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So then you can add any tags that you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and create this billing group. So now I have a couple billing groups here. I've got the one I just created and this one that's called Sandbox. So once it's created, I can see the billing group details. I can see what accounts are within this billing group. And then I can see margins as that starts to come in terms of the bill. And we'll talk about margins in a little bit. And then I can talk about these custom line items. So that's the billing group. That's how quickly you can set this up if you're just going to do an on-demand pricing. Now, if you want to start customizing the pricing model, we have this pricing configuration page. And there's pricing plans, and then there's pricing rules. And so the pricing rules, there's a bunch of different ways that you can set this up. But ultimately, you can either create a pricing rule that is either a discount or a markup, whether that's a global discount or a service level discount. So for example, I can say that this billing group gets 10% off and off their bill, and that's it. Or I can say whatever the public pricing is, they're going to get charged 10% more. That's one way to do it. Another way, for example, is to create a pricing rule for a specific service. So let's say I want to create a pricing rule for S3. I can go to scope to service. I can pick S3 out of the different services and say, I want to give S3 a 20% discount, let's say, for this particular billing group. And I can create a pricing rule.
Matt, what would be, when it comes to the services, when you've spoken to customers about it, what are there any common use cases that you've seen people wanting to do discounts or markups for specific services?
I would say a lot of the times, like whatever billing relationship they have for AWS, they'll try to replicate it at first. So it depends on whether the customer is a reseller, because then they might be, doing a different type of discount structure versus what they actually have. Where if it's enterprise, they might not want to have margin at all. They might want to match whatever discounts they have today exactly.
Right.
And so you can create a pricing plan that is a set of pricing rules. So I can create like an IT plan, and I can pick from these. So I can say, okay, they're going to get 20% off S3, they'll get 15% off EC2, and then they'll get 10% off everything else. And then I can create that pricing plan, and then I can associate it with the billing group. So I can say, I want to edit this, and I can take the pricing plan that's associated with here and call it IT plan and save. And that's as simple as it is to then create that pricing model. And there's one last thing, which I think is probably the most important feature, which is the custom line items.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea here is that any type of chargebacks or showbacks that you'd be doing, this is where you can now inject those directly into the bill itself, inject it into the CUR. So for example, if I want to charge back direct connect costs, because maybe that's in a central IT account, and I want to share the cost of that direct connect across my different, customers, my business units, I can say DX running costs. I can pick whether that's going to apply for the current month or the previous month. I can pick the billing group it will apply to. And then I can specify whether that's a flat charge. So if I'm just like peanut butter spreading it across with one specific number, or a percentage charge. So based on the total percentage of my bill, let's say based on 10% of my bill, I can charge this for. So you can either do a fee or a credit calculation here. And then you can also, with the resource values, pick, for example, do I want to include the gross costs? Do I want to include other custom line items within that calculation? So it allows you to do a calculation on the fly based on like the percentage of how much that bill for that billing group is. I'll stop there.
Can you do that for like support?
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the main uses of this is to say like support, I'm only seeing that at the payer account level. So how do I make that visible to others and push it down? And this is one way to do it.
So I'm not sure if this question makes sense. So you've like, you can ignore if it doesn't. But for services that get like that kind of tiered usage discount, can you? Because when it's just that tiered discount is distributed from that payer level, then you have some accounts getting more of a discount than others, right? So can you kind of equal that out using ABC?
So right now with ABC, I can't do like the tiering, which is a great question. It's really just like a flat or percentage-based discount. That's so like for example, when we talk about like with S3 pricing, the more I use an S3, the cheaper it becomes. You'd have to kind of work around that type of pricing and figure out what you want to charge. So today, like that, it's not supported, but potentially in the future.
Nice. All right, we've got a couple of questions we're going to throw in. I support, so from one of our regular viewers, I support a lot of clients that may use MSP, which is Managed Service Provider cloud offerings. Will customers be able to see these metrics?
That's a great actually segue into what I'm going to show. So we can bring back up the so I'm going to show like the baked version now of once Billing Conductor has been in the account for a while, what that looks like. So for example, if I go to the bills page, I'm going to actually, we just changed over to a new version of the bills page, but I'm going to go to the old version. You can see what this would look like within a primary account. So for example, if an MSP is doing this and then they're designating a primary account for their end customer, the end customer should be able to go into the bills page and they'll see this drop down here because there'll be a new section that says, do I want to enable the pro forma view? So I can go pro forma, I can see my billing group. So they would only be able to see the one that they have access to. And now they're seeing that new version of the bill that's inclusive of the pricing plan that you've created that has the custom line items. So for example, I think I have a custom line item in April. So here I can see this is a credit. It's just called test, but that's a custom line item that's now injected into the bill that I can see on the bills page. So my support charges I can see here, my networking charges I can see here, and that would also be in the cost and usage report. So if I go to cost and usage report, I can also see now there's a special setting to enable pro forma, and then there's different billing groups that are now listed. So if I create a report, just like I was to create any normal cost and usage report, now I can select a data view and I can select a billing group and create the cost and usage report from there and start generating that data. And that would be inclusive of those discounts, or markups, and inclusive of any custom line items.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to share? We'll take the share screen away.
One last thing I can share is what this margin looks like if people were interested. So for example, I can see what my margin amounts are. And that's when I say margin, it's the difference between what your actual costs are versus what you charge to this billing group. So for example, you can see here I have negative margin because I'm undercharging these billing groups, but you can see the performance over time of what the margin is on these accounts. And for resellers, there might be a margin attached, and for just enterprises, they might want this to make sure that it's zero, that they're charging back everything that they were charged.
Yeah,
and then you can
that's
see
kind of
that
how I
full
think back
analysis
to
here.
being a customer. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's
Thanks,
the demo.
Matt. So hopefully that was, make sure I remove the right thing. Hopefully that was useful. And like I said, this will be on YouTube later. So if you want to go up and review it and just pop our YouTube channel up in case anybody wants to watch it later, you can go and have a go and let us know if you set it up. Feel free to drop us an email at customoptimization@amazon.com. Let us know how you get on. So we've had a couple more questions in the chat, which we love. Thank you so much. So let's go for this one. Can we customize the percentage breakdown of RI, savings plans, amortized cost for each linked account?
That's a really good question.
It's a tough question.
You knew it was coming.
Question. Yeah. So one of the main use cases for Billing Conductor that we were going to talk about in terms of a pro is that customers have been asking for a while, how can I share my RI or SPs within a group of accounts? And that's what that pro forma view gives you the ability to do, is if I buy a savings plan or a reserved instance within that group of accounts, that pro forma view will then share it within those groups of accounts. So customizing the breakdown of each linked account, it's within the billing group itself, so you can customize that, but not at the potentially the linked account level, if that makes sense.
Right. Cool. All right. Thanks. And a simple one. I don't know if you know this one. Is it available in GovCloud? I have no idea.
Yes, it should be. So I've talked with public sector customers that have asked the same thing. Since the billing is outside of it, it should be, you were able to use Billing Conductor.
Right. Awesome. Let us know if you can't. And then one more. Rob loves a long question. Okay. Can I choose to have ABC group to be all accounts within an OU? Or I think I know the answer to this one. Would it be nice to have the feature to allow changes I make with member accounts or an OU reflected in the ABC? So at the moment, it's not, is it?
No. So you can replicate your OU structure in ABC. You can move accounts in and out of a billing group if you want on the fly. But in terms of having that sync occur, not today. Yeah,
and I'll let you into a secret, guys. What you should do is raise a support ticket and we'll listen. Super secret tip from Amazon here. Put it in a request. Put it in a feature request and we'll pass that along. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys, for your questions. I think that's all of the ones at the moment. So we've got a couple more minutes left. We wanted to jump into some kind of pros and cons of ABC. So let's start with, there's not really a con. I just want to make everybody aware of this, is the price. And I think this is something that we mention. Some things in Amazon, obviously, like free services, other things you have to pay for. The amount of storage that's involved with this, and I think the amount of calculations and stuff that behind the scenes lend itself to a pricing model, which Matt will go through now, and I'm going to pop a link in the chat.
Yeah, so to talk about the pricing, the first 1 million records that ABC ingests are free. So that's our free tier for ABC. By records, what I mean is any billing records in terms of like let's say, for example, you have one EC2 running for an hour, that would generate one billing record for that hour. So your costs for AWS don't necessarily translate into billing records directly. You could have a lot of cost, but that could be from a small number of instances or a small number of services.
Right. Like a massive server or something.
Exactly. Or you could have a lot of little things that generate a ton of different billing records. So the first 1 million is free. And then after that, it's 15 cents per 1,000. Now, to give you an idea of like the point of comparison, Cost Explorer is 1 cent per thousand, but there's no free tier. So this is a kind of a big jump in terms of the pricing. But again, that first million is free. So you can feel free to experiment. And on top of that, we're only charging you for what Billing Conductor is ingesting. So we're not charging you for all of your usage records across your entire consolidated billing family. It's only the accounts that are within the billing groups itself.
Yeah, so you opt into what they so like one of my customers, a specific business unit of theirs really wants this, and they're willing to like pay for it. I think it's only 5 accounts, and so those group accounts are going to get it. They're going to get their like individual CUR and pro forma view and stuff like that, and that works for them. And then that's it. So they're not, the rest of the organization doesn't need it, doesn't care. So if there is a specific group that you need that you want to do a little one for, that's always good. And this also pushes you to be more optimized. So you don't have any wasteful EBS volumes floating about, causing you cost in 2 places. Cool. I think there was one thing we wanted to mention, which I think I was confused about. I thought that there was Cost Explorer as well with the view, but that's not it, is there? There's only the cost and use report or the invoice or pro forma
view. Not yet. So there's no Cost Explorer budget support today. But if you're using cost allocation tags, which I'm sure all of your viewers are, and if you're using cost categories, that will kind of pass through seamlessly into the pro forma CUR. So if you're using cost categories today or those tags, that'll still be in your CUR today. So it doesn't change any of that.
Essentially, too, if you're using cloud intelligence dashboards, you could also build one off of those views, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You've led us into our pros of this, which was you get your own CUR. You can have a cost intelligence dashboard per like group of accounts, which I think is one of the big selling points of this, which a lot of our customers want. Have you seen that from many customers, Matt?
Yeah, I'm starting to see customers adopt. I mean, the people that are most excited about are those that have the cloud intelligence dashboards deployed, and they say, "Oh, this is going to be really great to kind of do that segregation." And then really, I think the power of it is those custom line items are then there. Like you can see that those costs, they will come up under Billing Conductor costs, but it'll still be truly what I'm paying month over month, as opposed to just what AWS invoiced you for potentially.
Yeah. Nice thing there down to the cost intelligence dashboards, which I think is one of the big old selling points. Right, how much have we got? A couple more minutes. I think you've really talked about savings plans, right? There was anything else you wanted to cover on that? Nope.
No, I think that's it. In terms of like the other, like I don't want to say sharp edge, but like one other thing to keep in mind is those custom line items now are just manual every month. That if I assume that if you're doing these types of chargebacks today, those are manual anyway. So putting that in, it's very quick and easy to do, and there's also API support to make that even easier.
Yeah. I think that's a little thing where I was like, oh, it's a bit manual, but then you're right. If people are always doing this kind of by hand anyway, this is a step in the right direction. It should be easy to do. And I think in total, the big thing about this is probably going to make things like chargeback easier, especially some of the markup stuff and the support fee. Like Alex jumped on that straight away. Does it do support fee? Yes. That was, I think, the first thing I thought of when I saw it as well. So there is a lot of good opportunities for that stuff. We've got like 1 more minute left. Alex, any questions for Matt or anything you want to mention?
One thing that I took note of is, with anything that has a charge associated with it, we always say like, do a test case first. And one thing that Matt said in the beginning is having like your dev environment versus production. And so I think that could be a really cool use case. Like if you have sandbox environments and you want to try to test out what it'll look like, that could be like a low cost way to see if this could work for you.
Yeah, and enabling this won't affect anything that's going on with your actual bill. So it is a pretty painless. It's just we're generating new versions of the data that leaves your old data completely intact.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, Matt. That was really good. I think I need to have a mess around with it a bit more. One more question. Last like 30 seconds. If it comes up, how does it scale for a customer that is upwards of 3,000 linked accounts? Damn. I assume it just works, right?
Yeah, it just works.
Yeah. How many customers? Oh my word. Now all the questions are coming in. It's the last 10 seconds. So 3,000 accounts. Blooming hell, that's a lot of accounts, but yeah, it works. How about customers with 500 million records in the CUR? Is there a plan to cap the billing? I don't know if there's a cap, Matt, do you?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say that again, this is where we want to test it out in the dev environment and segregate it out. The question then becomes, do you need the entirety of that organization to be under billing conductor, or are there subsections that would benefit and be worth the price?
Brilliant. Okay, thanks guys. If any more questions, feel free to email us at costoptimization@amazon.com. Thank you so much for watching. We're back next week with Ashley from the Finance Foundation, and we will see you all then. Bye.